Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
The atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand.
It is our basic human right to be fucked up.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis.
So, welcome back to Occultae Veritatis. I am Ood Gallifrey.
Sage Murray!
Leon Filger.
And in studio with us,
Daniel Gallifrey.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Daniel Gallifrey. Yeah.
Oh, finally. It's about fucking time. We've only been doing this for over a year.
I didn't know we were married. I guess we are now.
I guess we are.
Okay.
Podcast married.
And?
I'll marry you for real when you're ready.
I'm also here. I'm Susan O'Flanagan.
Susan O'Flanagan. Woo!
Alrighty. So today we're talking about the Yuba County 5.
I have no idea what that is.
Me neither.
Yeah, the Yuba County 5 is often described and recognized more as the American Dyatlov Pass.
Oh, fun.
Cool.
Alrighty, so we need some poison to grease our lungs. We're going to drink something from high
We
school.
don't grease our lungs with it.
I want to grease my lungs.
So, what's your poison?
So this is Mississippi mud. This is what I drank when I was going to college.
It's really fancy. It's like a growler almost. You're probably going to hate it.
It looks like
I'm going to despise this shit, man. I guarantee it.
It should be part of like a bluegrass band.
Like, look at it.
Yeah.
You know I'm definitely going to do that the second that jug is empty, right? I really hate beer like a lot. I love you, though. Hit me.
Well, we also have some marijuanas around the table if you'd like to take some of that.
What?
We have some marijuanas all around the table.
I might do that after this.
We have some of
foamy fucking beer.
Yeah, and although you can't hear him on the mic, Richard Bigley is in this room in spirit and body. And
He is here in body.
Yes. And
for damn sure.
Yeah, and we're going to be smoking a little bit of his weed, because this mystery's a motherfucker.
Okay, we got to do it now, guys. We got to do it. Hold on. I tried. Oh, you did better than me.
How does anyone have some spoons?
It's hard. All right, well, let's just get this. Okay, mine's good.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, this is a good sound.
Oh, man.
Okay, we're done. Moving on, guys.
It turns out maybe I wasn't like an edgy little dipshit, because this is actually not too bad.
Yeah, it's all right.
All right. I hate beer.
I like it.
No, it's good. It doesn't really taste like anything.
It tastes like beer.
Yeah.
It tastes like tolerable beer. Yeah, like it's fine. I'll allow it. Now it's bad. Nope.
Oh. Sage, what did you say I would think about it?
I said that you'd hate it.
You know what I don't?
You don't hate it?
I don't hate it.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
I don't hate it.
Is this a crocodile or an alligator on the bottle?
Oh.
Your face.
Crocagator.
I cannot remember the difference.
I think it's probably a crocodile.
Alligators have got longer snoots.
Yeah.
I think
alligators eat babies in an A shape and crocodiles eat babies in a C shape.
What?
That is an A-shaped crocodile baby.
But yeah, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. You know, it's not as good.
Daniel hates it.
It was.
Look at Leon. Usually it's Leon dumping his beer into mine. This time it's
Richard,
Daniel.
you want my foam?
Dumping beer into Leon's.
I guess I thought I was gonna get a rushing tide of nostalgia and it was just gonna be like a golden moment, but it was all right. It's 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's kind of disappointing.
It's pretty standard black and tan.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'll give it a 6.5.
I'll give it a 7 out of 12.
I like how your rating is out of 12. What is that?
I'm gonna give it 17 cerebral palsies, out of 1 cystic fibrosis, 3 spina bifidas, and a muscular dystrophy.
Yeah, and
High praise.
I'm going to give it a solid 1.5 out of 37.
If I could live anywhere, where would that be? I'd want to live in a place where people are happy and friendly. I'd want to feel safe and secure in a place that's close to nature, with lots of room to roam, where I could enjoy the outdoors with friends and family. And just as important, a place that is business friendly, where industry and job growth are encouraged, and the amenities for business success are readily available without the hustle and congestion of city traffic, high costs, and government bureaucracy. Where my kids and their kids will want to live as well, and will be able to provide the same wholesome lifestyle for their families. Yuba County is all of that and more. A California gem.
We're doing the Yuba County 5.
Awesome.
So, like I said, it's described as the American Dyatlov Pass. So, let's talk about the region first. So, Yuba County, as of the 1980 census, the population was about 22,000. Yeah. These days, it's hovering more around 40,000. Fun fact, it's the most biodiverse single county in all of United States.
Wow.
Even more than Florida. So, it has the most species per square mile.
Okay, where is it?
It's
what state?
California.
California. Did you say that and I just missed it?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
And at the time, this county was mostly Democratic, having just voted and elected by mass Democratic presidential candidate Jimmy Carter in 1976.
Jimmy Carter's a nice man.
He had a peanut farm.
Yeah, he seems like a really cool guy.
He is. He was treated in a Winnipeg hospital for heat stroke after he passed out on the site of a Habitat for Humanity build.
Oh, of course he did.
Well,
and
that's just some solid good PR right there.
Yeah.
And you know what he did with that peanut farm? He put it in a blind trust so it would not be affected by a presidency. Like a responsible person.
He's so sweet.
Yeah. So,
even though he's really Jesus-y. Usually we don't like Jesus.
No, honest to God, have you heard the statements he's made lately about atheism?
No.
That man is not a believer.
Not anymore? 'Cause,
No.
before, I used to think that he was super...
I think you
was a
have to be
Baptist
Jesus
minister,
to get
but
elected in the States, don't you?
Oh, there's someone right there.
Like they don't care if you have sex with a porn star as long as you pray.
Say that you're
or whatever.
Jesus-y?
This story takes place in Yuba County, and it involves 5 people. Now,
Yuba County, California, right?
Yes, a county in California. In order to keep track of all the mysterious twists and turns of this tale, what I want to do is I want each one of us to take on the persona of one of these people. So,
I like this.
I'm going to assign each one of you a person involved, and you're going to remember a few things about yourself. Susan O'Flanagan. You're going to be Gary Mathias.
Gary Mathias. All right.
Gary.
Okay.
Calling you that from now on.
Okay. So at the time of this incident, you're 25 years old. You're 5 feet 10, 170 pounds.
She is not 170 pounds.
This is just her persona.
Thank you, Sage.
She's cosplaying in spirit right now. You have brown hair and hazel eyes. You have schizophrenia, but you're quite high functioning.
All right.
And because Susan works in the medical field, I'm going to get her to read these drugs and describe them, if you wouldn't mind.
I sell drugs out of my car.
Okay, I'd like a little more information about that.
Yeah, and these are from the late 70s as well.
Oh, it's just a typical antipsychotic.
what's the
I'm not
drug
smart
name?
at all.
Stelazine. It'd be related to Haldol.
Okay, I understand that.
Oh, so this gentleman, he's on 2 medications, Stelazine, which is an antipsychotic, and then Cogentin, which is a medication that you take to control the shakes from the first medication.
Yeah.
So,
Like propranolol.
Yeah.
And you've had...
Which I'm on.
And you used to be in the military, but you got discharged because of your schizophrenia, but you've been stable for a year, and your doctors would describe you as one of their success stories.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
Boy, howdy.
Yeah. You were quite high functioning. You had a driver's license. You worked as assistant manager at your father's gardening business, and you can't fuck around when you're an assistant manager. You got to do math
you
and
got
stuff.
shit to do.
Oh, yeah. Daniel, you are Jack Madruga.
I love that.
Yeah, so
Me too.
you have to remember Madruga. Yeah.
Madruga.
So you're 30 years old. You're 5'11", 190 pounds. You have brown eyes, brown hair, and you're heavy set.
I sound dreamy as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't kick you out of bed.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
So again, we're getting into very antiquated language here because this is the late 70s. They didn't have very much in terms of research going around mental illness, and they had very crude definitions. And
don't say the R slur.
I won't. I'll say the R word. Druga was considered academically slow, but despite meeting several doctors, he hasn't been diagnosed as mentally ill. Now, slow back in those times means that today he could be diagnosed as having a learning disability or
fetal alcohol spectrum disorder.
Yep.
Or any number of things.
Or some kind of dyslexia. But back then, they weren't as concerned with diagnosis, so they just put a label on him slow. And
yes, slow.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you call a dyslexic agnostic?
I don't know what.
Someone who lays awake at night wondering if there really is a dog.
Oh, boy.
Lol.
Lol, indeed.
Okay. That made me laugh so hard.
Okay. So Daniel...
That's what she said.
Yeah. So... There you go. So Daniel / Madruga, you also served in the army. You didn't serve with Matthias, but you also served in the army.
And Madruga.
Yeah, so even though you're considered quote unquote slow, you're high functioning as well. You graduated high school, you had a driver's license. You used to work at a busboy for Sunsweet Growers, a dried fruit manufacturer.
I like dried fruit.
I'm into it. Yep.
Now, you did lose your job, but it wasn't because of your performance. It was just because of mass layoffs.
Have you ever owned a food dehydrator and made your own dehydrated food snacks?
We used to have them when I was a kid.
I ate a dehydrated tomato, and it was the most wonderful thing ever.
Yeah, we used to do dried apples all the time. Like my mom used to make it for us.
Ood, can we get a fucking food dehydrator?
They're really cheap. Like you can get one for $20.
I don't see why not.
And you can make your own beef jerky, like fake beef jerky.
Yeah. So Madruga, also, you don't like cold weather. You've never been camping. Your parents haven't been able to coax you into camping, so you're not a big fan of that.
Who doesn't like camping?
I love camping.
Madruga.
This guy. You borrowed my tent like a few months ago.
Yeah.
I brought it back.
Okay.
You did bring it back.
Leon, you are William Sterling. Okay.
William Sterling.
You're 5'10", 170 pounds.
Oh, that's what I am too.
Yeah.
You have dark brown hair and blue eyes. Now, you are described as mentally R-worded. I consulted a friend in social work as to what that could mean. It could mean fetal alcohol. It could mean Down syndrome. It could mean a whole host of things.
Okay.
Now, you two have to start getting along. You know why? Sterling and Madruga are best...
Madruga.
Yeah, Sterling and Madruga are best friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Sterling is deeply religious.
Really?
Once your dad took you out fishing, you didn't like it. You couldn't be coaxed out to fishing again. You didn't like going outside of the house.
Oh.
Yeah.
Loves Jesus, hates fishing. Got it.
Yeah, and your best friends are with Madruga. You are Theodore Weiher.
Theodore. I actually just married someone named Theodore today.
Oh, really? Isn't that matching?
I'm 31 years old.
Sorry, you're 32 years old.
Okay, I'm 32 years old.
You're 5'10", you're 230 pounds.
I am
Jesus Christ.
I'm a big boy.
Wait till the end of the story.
Okay.
You have brown eyes, curly brown hair.
I do.
You're described as handsome and beer belly.
I'm very handsome, but not so much beer. Maybe a little bit.
How is it after being on the podcast for like over a year, you don't have like a little bit of a beer belly situation? Because there's a lot of beer.
I put on 25 pounds during the pregnancy.
Yeah.
This is like 5 pounds less than the fattest I've ever been in my entire life.
I mean, when the house is full of snacks, how? I mean,
there's lots of snacks when you're pregnant.
I was eating for 3.
Yeah. So, again, you were described as mentally R-word.
Oh, sweet.
Yep. Again, which could mean Down syndrome, could mean fetal alcohol. Really, it's disappointing. Like, in Dyatlov Pass, I could come to, like, a theory of the case. And if we're going to do that in the future, and you guys will be able to find out what I think about that. But because of the crude language and the lack of information we have here, there's certain questions I can't answer. Because I can't assess, like, what kind of functionality these people may have had, because they're just stamped with a giant rubber stamp.
A giant rubber R-word stamp.
Yeah. You are friendly and trusting in a child's way.
Cool.
Yeah. For example, if you were to wave at a stranger and they didn't wave back, your feelings would be hurt for like an hour.
They are.
Yeah.
That's not too dissimilar.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. You get a good chuckle out of phoning friends. And one of your favorite activities is reading the newspaper or the telephone book and finding funny names.
I do love funny names.
That's amazing.
I'm going to start doing that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Right?
Again, you were employed as a janitor and a snack bar clerk, but you lost your job. Maybe, I don't know, there's conflicting accounts. Your boss may have fired you, or your family may have convinced your boss to fire you. So we're not sure if it's performance or coercion, but you weren't able to hold down a job.
Oh.
Yeah. Once your father took you out deer hunting, you did not enjoy yourself. You had kind of a bad reaction, and you haven't been keen on the forest since.
That probably makes sense. Although Mr. Sage Murray just went hunting and got a deer, so we're just going to be full of deer sausage that I'm not going to eat.
May I have one?
Yeah.
Can I have some?
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm the other Jack. I'm Jack Hewitt.
Oh, you're both Jacks.
Not Madragus. Oh, and you're
Jack.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
And you're
Jack
engaged.
squared here.
So I'm the baby of the group. So Gary is the second youngest at 25. I'm the youngest at 24 years old. I'm 5'9", 160 pounds, and I have a slight. Oh yeah, and I just have a slight droop to my head.
Oh.
So I walk with kind of my forehead a little bit pointed at the ground. Again, I'm considered quote-unquote slow, but I hadn't been diagnosed as mentally ill. So it could be a learning disability, could be dyslexia, who knows, because we don't have any more information to go on.
Everyone seems to be a little bit slow in this Yuba 5.
Yeah, and just like Madruga and Sterling are best friends, Hewitt and Wayher are best friends.
Woo.
Yeah. So I'm a loving shadow to you. So you're a bit more high functioning than I am.
Okay.
So I kind of follow you like a big brother, and you kind of take care of me.
Nice.
Yeah. You look after. We look after each other in a protective sort of way, and actually, I'm so shy that when I go to make a phone call, even to my own family, I get really shy around the phone. So I'll hand the phone off to you.
That's fair.
Okay.
I hate the phone.
Okay. So do we all know these little things about ourselves?
Okay, cool.
Okay. So the incident began in 1978. So the pre-incident timeline. So these 5 people were supposed to go to play a basketball game on February 25th of that year. It was part of a tournament, and they formed their own team. It was kind of a learning center, and anybody who was considered special, I think it was sponsored by the California Special Olympics. They would get a free week in Los Angeles for the winning team, so they were really pumped to do that. Just to show you how pumped they had been, all 5 of them had agreed to lay out their clothes for the next day.
Oh, wow.
So
that's organized.
That is really organized.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the Vocational Rehabilitation Center for the Handicapped, that's the place where they all hung out and played basketball. They even had like a bunch of T-shirts printed out for them. So they had a bunch of T-shirts that were beige, and they all had the words Gateway Gators printed on them.
That's cute.
Oh, like this gator on this Mississippi mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wayher, so you.
Yep, that's me.
You asked your mom to wash your new high-top sneakers. So you got these nice, shiny, just fucking beautiful sneakers. You scuffed them a little bit wearing them for the first time. And they got to be perfect for the basketball game. So you asked your mom to scrub them up.
I would.
Yeah.
My mom's awesome.
Yeah. Matthias had driven his mom just about crazy with the game.
That's me.
Oh, yeah. You driven your mom just about crazy with the game. You kept on reminding her. According to the mother's account, you reminded her maybe 13 or 14 times.
Mom, the game.
Oh, yeah.
Mom.
Don't let me oversleep. We got a big game. Mom, don't let me oversleep. Because he was the one that drove everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
So the incident started on Friday, February the 24th. So at 5 p.m., all 5 of us, all 5 boys, left for the basketball game in a turquoise and white 1969 Mercury Montenegro.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, I might not be saying that right. I'm not a car guy. But I did look up online, and I don't know if any of you guys had friends growing up that had like giant cars that felt like you were sitting in a boat.
I had a car like that.
Yeah. Like big metal frame and all that?
Recently.
Yeah.
What kind of car did I have? I had a Cadillac.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like
an old one.
Big square frame, low to the ground.
Yeah.
Like it's not a car you would take.
It's floating. It's like a floating car.
Yeah. It's not a car you would take off-roading, would you?
No, definitely not.
Okay. 5:30. A guy named Joseph Shones drove up the road. So, if you guys look at your map, there's a little mountain road going up. So there's a road going up to Chio City, and then if you veer off to the right, there's a bunch of mountain roads, and you'll see where the boys' bodies are eventually found.
What?
What? This got dark.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so Joseph Shones at 5:30 p.m., he drove up that road in his Volkswagen.
Okay.
Basically, he wanted to take his family camping that weekend, and he was scoping it out on the Friday night. He was near a desolate mountain road near Rogers Cow Camp in Plumas National Forest, and he was seeing if weather conditions were good enough to bring his family along for the weekend. Basically, he drove until he hit the snow line. For those of you that don't live near mountains, the snow line is the line where snow falls nearly year-round if the mountain is high enough. But basically, he got stuck, and he tried to get his car unstuck, so he got out, he started to push his car, and he started to get it unstuck, but then he felt a searing pain in his chest.
Uh-oh.
He went back to his car to wait it out, so he didn't know what was happening. Okay, back to the 5 boys. 9:45 p.m., we all go to a baseball game in Chio. It's the California State University game.
Is it baseball or basketball?
Baseball.
Oh.
We went to see a baseball game the night before, but we're playing a basketball game ourselves tomorrow, and we're the team.
It's a lot of balls.
Oh, yes.
Nah, that's what she said.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, so the game ends, and the boys walk out of the game. At 9:50, the boys stop 3 blocks away at Bears Market, and they mildly annoy the clerk because the store closed up at 10. They got there at 9:50.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, that is annoying as shit.
I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I mean, anybody that's worked a service job, you know that beat.
Because it means I can't go home.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because I gotta fucking wait for you to check your shit out.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, there's a checklist of stuff in the back room, and we can't complete half of it until everybody's gone.
I stopped getting paid at 9.
Yeah.
Regardless whether you're still here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah. Yeah, so they were trying to close up, and that's why this clerk remembered them, because he was kind of pissed off. So they bought 1 Hostess cherry pie, and that's like those little handheld pies. Yeah. 1 Langendorf lemon pie.
That sounds really
love
good.
lemon
I'm
pie.
kinda hungry.
1 Snickers bar, 1 Marathon bar, which is like a Cliff bar as far as I can tell.
Okay.
That is delicious as well.
2 Pepsis and 1.5 quarts of chocolate milk.
You can go to the wholesale club and get Cliff Bars for $1 a piece.
Really?
Yes.
Oh shit.
Oh, I live across, I live so close to there.
You do go there. I buy them by the crate.
Man.
That's I think they're pretty cheap at Costco too.
They also have 250 calories per bar though, so like that's
it's like a meal.
It is a meal, yeah.
No,
and I just I'd rather eat 3 than 1.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a meal replacement. Yeah. So at 10 p.m. we were hurried out of the store because he wants to close on fucking time.
Fair enough.
So we got back in our car and we drove south of Chio. So we drove back home directly south. But instead of driving south, we inexplicably ended up 50 miles away. So
how'd you end up doing that?
Nobody really knows. Remember the guy that was having the heart attack in his car?
Yeah.
I had pains in my chest and I couldn't breathe.
It was just like someone had set me on fire.
I was feeling this pain in the center of my chest that wasn't normal.
But the worst was when it went into my arms and down to my wrist.
I woke up in the ER that evening.
Warning signs can be different for everyone, but there are several distinct warning signs or symptoms of a heart attack. Uncomfortable pressure, squeezing, fullness or pain in the center of the chest that lasts more than a few minutes or goes away and comes back. Symptoms can include pain or discomfort in one or both arms, the back, neck, jaw, or stomach. Some victims complain about leg cramps and pains. Shortness of breath, which may occur with or without chest discomfort. Other signs may include cold sweats, nausea, or lightheadedness. If you experience any of these signs, chest discomfort, pain in your upper body, arms and legs, shortness of breath, nausea, or dizziness, take immediate action. Don't wait. Call 911 and get to a hospital right away.
So he was suffering in his car for hours. He couldn't get his car unstuck. This is before the age of handy cell phones.
Oh, that sucks.
He was pretty fucked.
Yeah. He's screwed.
Yeah. So he told 2 versions of a story at different times. And honestly, he'd been suffering with a severe heart attack in his car for hours at this point. And the block in it, and it was real. Like later on, the doctors determined it was real. And the blockage in his heart was just so that it would restrict a little bit of blood to his brain.
Oh, yeah. He probably didn't really follow everything that was happening in so much pain.
Yeah. Like, he remembered 2 distinct events, and he knows that only one of them is real, but he can't tell because everything was just so dreamlike. So this is version 1. So 10:30 p.m., while he's laying in his car, he sees 2 sets of headlights coming up behind him. So he was coming back down the mountain from checking it out. So that means it's coming from the mountain road. So he saw 2 sets of headlights coming up behind him. One was a car, a big car like described in ours, like a Cadillac low-type car. Yeah. And one was a pickup truck. He got out of the car to flag them down. So he kind of stood up and he tried to wave at them. The 2 cars stopped about 20 feet away from him. The passengers then got out and left together in the car.
Okay.
Yeah. On Saturday, February the 25th at 7 a.m., his car ran out of gas in the early morning hours, and the cold let his pain subside enough for him to walk 8 miles down to a lodge. And the manager there drove him from past the abandoned Montenegro.
Okay.
So that car that was left behind. So a truck and a car come up. They get out of the truck, into the car, and drive it a ways. And he didn't know how many people. And even though he's yelling for help, they pass right by him. And later on, when he gets down to this house and he's driving them back towards civilization, he passes that abandoned car. Now, he didn't have any reason to go to the authorities until they started putting want posters up.
Right.
Because it's just an abandoned car at that point. Who cares? So this is the second version of the story. The second version of the story, at about 11:30 p.m., again, he thought he woke up and he heard whistling noises. And he saw what he thought was a group of men and a woman with a baby walking within the light of another vehicle's headlights.
Huh.
It almost seemed like they were being marched in front of a vehicle.
I don't understand what this story is about yet.
You'll find out. So Sean called.
It's a slow burn.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he got out. He called for help, and the lights turned off, and the whistling sound stopped, and he lost track of them. Then at 1:40 a.m. later, he saw more lights from behind him that eventually approached the car and seemed to be looking in at him. He saw flashlight beams outside the car looking in, and he saw people looking into his car with flashlights, and he called out for help again, but all the flashlights went immediately off. And again, the last part of the story was the 7 a.m. thing, where he woke up, and he went down to the ski lodge, and he drove past that abandoned car. So 2 different versions with the same ending. And because he was delirious with pain and low on oxygen to the brain, he can't tell which one. Now, early Saturday the 25th, by 1 a.m., the first mother was awake. If your moms are anything like mine, if your son or daughter doesn't come home, they're not going to sleep until they're in their beds. And one mom was up until 1 a.m. worrying. I mean, let's be honest, probably all of them were. You know, a group of young men with different levels of functionality, all with mental illness, off on their own.
On like a pretty big road trip.
Yeah. And they weren't home. She started a phone tree, and by 3 a.m., all the mothers were aware, and they were all aware that their sons weren't home. They were supposed to go to the baseball game, come home at 9:45, and go to bed.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And at 1 a.m., they started that phone tree, and they realized that all their sons are missing. Now, this is a sighting that happened the next day. So this is something that the police found out about much later, but it's part of the timeline. So Sunday, February the 26th, a woman who had worked in a store in a small hamlet of Brownsville, 30 miles from the spot from where the car had been abandoned. If they kept on driving down the road where the car was abandoned, they would have gotten to that town. So she says that she saw 5 men arriving in a red pickup truck. Now remember Joseph Shones. In the second version, that's the weird version with the baby and the woman, there was a pickup truck.
Yeah.
And suddenly she sees 5 men in a pickup truck. She owned the store there. 2 of the men came in to buy food. One of them made a phone call from a nearby phone booth, and 2 of them stayed in the truck. She identified the men as outsiders to the city because they were big and they had huge facial expressions. They reacted much more than your average person coming into a shop. That's what she said in her statement anyways. Two of the men, who she later identified as Hewitt and Sterling. Oh, yeah,
I'm William Sterling.
The two of us were in the phone booth outside. And my brother later on said that that's strange that I was in the phone booth using the phone. Because that's
you
what she
hated the
described.
phone.
Yeah, because I hated the phone.
Yeah.
And it's strange that I was with you instead of my best friend.
Which is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also additional details came from the store owner. He told the investigators that the men who he believed to be Wayher and Hewitt came in and bought burritos, chocolate milk, and soft drinks.
Oh, I want a burrito now.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the same stuff.
Yeah. Wayher's brother told the Los Angeles Times later on that that part of the story where he came in to buy food seemed credible because Wayher would eat anything you would get his hands on. And he was
That's me.
Yeah. And me and you were hanging out.
Yeah.
So again, two different versions of the story. So the woman in the shop said that me and you were hanging out in the phone booth, but all 5 of us were here. And the other people were waiting in the car. Mm-hmm. But the store owner, he says, yeah, they all showed up, but things were a bit different as far as I can tell. What he said was me and you were hanging out and buying food.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
That would make more sense.
Yeah, because we're best friends.
And this is significant because, like I said before, in the second version of the story, where he's hallucinating the woman with the baby, there was a truck involved. So that gives credence to that second version of the story, even though it's the weirder one where a random woman with a baby shows up.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Like, why would five men who are going to a baseball game and want to come home early so they can sleep early for a baseball game, why would they suddenly have a woman with a baby with them? Of course, the parents raise a stink. The police want to, of course, wait the weekend before they investigate, as they usually do. They say, like, oh, maybe they'll come home, maybe it's fine, it's all good. That changed, however, because a forest ranger of the Plumbus National Park, I almost said Plumbus.
You did say Plumbus.
Oh, goody.
It was not an almost.
No, it was a full-on hard committal.
Oh, goody.
Full Plumbus. Plumbus, as in, like, the Rick and Morty thing, right? Yeah.
Plumbus.
They won't define what it does. Anyways, so Monday, February the 27th. So they didn't know anything about this mountain road, and nobody had reported anything because nothing seemed strange. When he got that ride back, it just seemed like another abandoned car. Who cares? So, of course, the police search the first thing they can. So police in Butte, and where they came from, and Yuba counties began to search along the route that they took to Chico, where the baseball game was. They checked the original route. They saw no sign of them. Tuesday, February the 28th, a forest ranger getting note of some missing boys. He said that he found the Montenegro parked on the road up the mountain on February the 25th, and he reported it. He didn't think much of it because there's a lot of times that people came up there and parked their car and went cross-country skiing and camping and all that, so he didn't think it was too strange. On Tuesday, February the 28th, authorities found the Mercury Montenegro on the same mountain road where Shones had last seen it.
Oh.
Yeah, so that part of the delusion was real. They found the car where he thought he passed it. Okay, so the car. It was found 70 miles from Chico on a deserted and rut-ravaged mountain road. Police could not figure out why the men had abandoned the car. They had reached 4,400 feet in elevation along the road, about where the snow line was that time of year. Now, they weren't really stuck. They were just a little bit stuck. In fact, the police say that if just 3 of the 5 boys would have mildly pushed on the car, they would have been able to get it unstuck. Mm-hmm. But again, this is where the trouble gets in. We don't have information about their level of functionality.
Mm-hmm.
We don't.
It could have been like a myriad of different things for all of them.
Yeah, it totally could have. Like, so when I ask questions, like, would they have known if they pushed a little harder, it would have been okay? Like, I can't answer those questions. Mm-hmm. Its tires had signs of spinning, but the car wasn't really stuck. Like I said, 3 of the 5 men could have pushed it. There were some posts that were arguing that you can't push a car unless its keys are in and the brake is depressed. But that's only with cars made after the 90s. That in cars earlier than that part wasn't made yet. So you could push a car into neutral and push it without having to put the keys in or press the brake. The gas tank was a quarter full, so it wasn't out of gas. It had 4 maps, including one of California, neatly folded in the glove compartment. On the seat was a crumpled program for the baseball game they had attended, so they made it to the baseball game. And they got the program.
Yeah.
The keys were gone, but when the police hot-wired the car, the engine started immediately. So it wasn't
No mechanical issues.
Yeah. And there's some issues that can delay a car starting, but from what I can find, and I'm sure they investigated the car and they didn't find really anything like that. Both seats were littered with the wrappers of the food they bought at Bayhair. So they went to that convenience store, remember, at 9:50, pissed off the owner. They bought all that food. Everything was eaten in its entirety except for the Marathon bar was only half eaten.
It's like a full meal, though.
Yeah. So why I asked you at the start, would you take your Cadillac like off-roading?
Fuck no.
So this was a shitty, like, rivet and divot and hole-filled mountain road in the middle of winter.
I wouldn't take my car that I have now. I've got a Dodge Dart. I wouldn't take it in a road like that in the winter.
They made it up 4,400 feet of elevation. The car's underside was completely undamaged.
What?
This is a heavy American car.
Yeah.
With a low-hanging muffler with 5 full-grown men inside.
Yeah, like I weigh over 200 pounds.
Yeah. They made it up a stretch of torturous, bumpy mountain road that like challenged jeeps and trucks without damaging the underside of the car. And they didn't have a gouge or a dent or even a thick stain of mud.
How could that be?
That's where things get fucked.
Not even like freaking mud or anything?
No. It's the only thing that was on it. It was soaked in ice and snow because it was snowed on for so many days. But there was no
it was
mud.
left there, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. The family say only Madruga ever drove the car. That was...
Madruga.
Yes, you.
That's you.
That's your fucking car. And you're very protective over it. Like, there's one time you got in an accident and the tow truck driver wanted to get in the car and put it into gear so he could lance it up. He had to go home and get your parents in order to let you do that. You're very, very protective over your car. But your parents say, you've never been off-roading with a car. You take it to your buddy's house and back.
Yeah.
You don't know how to drive it up a bumpy mountain road, much less so skillfully that you don't damage or even get a spot of mud on the car.
I don't know, man. I was pretty good at cutting donuts in stubble fields without getting the car dirty.
I don't know. And that's the thing. Maybe behind your mom's back, maybe you're taking this car off-roading all the time. Who knows? There's just not enough information. And like, we don't know your level of functionality, so we don't know if you could be like a wicked driver or not.
Maybe that's your thing.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Now, the family say that only Madruga ever drove the car. He disliked camping and hated the cold, and he did not know the road. Madruga would not have let somebody else drive the car. Also, when the car was found, it was unlocked and 2 of the windows were rolled down. It was also heavily snowing that night. You were very particular about keeping the inside of your car dry, where you would make people tap their shoes to get the snow off before they got in. Why would you leave your car with the windows open?
Yeah.
Especially when in the 70s, you could just crank them back up. It wasn't an electrical issue.
You guys are all looking at me like I literally have all the answers, and I could tell you right now, I really don't.
I tell you, I'm glad I went this way because I would have trouble keeping track of all the names if I didn't have people to reference them to.
I'm trying to remember which story version there was a truck and they all got in the truck and left the car.
That was the first one.
That was without the baby.
That was the one without the baby. But the second version also has a car and a truck. And also has, but it has the woman and the baby.
Yeah.
And it also has them showing back up at 1 to 2 a.m. with the flashlights.
So they went back to the car potentially.
Yeah.
Or someone did.
And here's the thing, like, the parents afterwards say that they would help somebody who is in trouble. Like, they're just kind of like very good-natured like that.
Right.
So somebody
He waves at strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so somebody calling for help. In both versions, he calls for help at them, and they don't respond.
I love waving at strangers.
Yeah.
On the picket line, so they honk.
Oh, yeah, power to the people.
Been doing a lot of that lately.
Yeah. Power to the workers. The tragic part is, on Tuesday, February 28th, when they just found the car, they did as much investigation as they could, and they dragged the car back down the mountain so they could study it more, but that's all they could do. A storm whistled up, and in the day that they did the investigation, 9 inches of snow fell on top of them.
A blizzard is defined as a severe snowstorm with sustained winds of over 56 kilometers per hour. Blizzards form when freezing cold air in the atmosphere collides with warm, moist air, creating a weather phenomenon called a front. This collision of warm and cold air produces heavy snow and howling winds. But wind and snow aren't the most dangerous part of a blizzard. The biggest killer is the cold. A drop of just 4 degrees in core temperature, and the human body becomes hypothermic. It's a condition that Dr. Colin Grissom is an expert at treating.
A person experiencing mild hypothermia typically feels cold and they start shivering. The shivering progresses to an uncontrollable shivering.
Shivering is the body's way of generating critical heat to keep you alive. But if body temperature continues to fall, hypothermia deepens. Then the shivering stops, and that's the beginning of the end.
When you stop shivering, the body is losing its ability to rewarm itself. So it is failing. Everything slows down. Metabolism slows down. So the heartbeat slows down, the breathing slows down, and all the cells slow down, including the brain.
Left unchecked, severe hypothermia like this will lead to death.
So there was no snow on the mountain before that night where the whistling.
Oh, there was. It's just 9...
Night of the whistling.
9 more...
Night of the whistling is what we're going to call it now.
Yep.
Well, the snow line is where snow is permanently.
Oh.
Yeah. But the snow can...
It's the elevation below which snow is intermittent and above which snow is permanent.
Yes. Yeah, so below...
Thank you.
So below the mountain, the seasons change just like everything else. The snow comes and goes, but the snow line at the snow line...
Snow is forever.
Yes. Yeah, so they reached the snow line, but they were a little stuck, but not that really stuck. Yeah, and the snow rustled in, so the police were investigating all this.
It's whistled and rustled.
I know. So the police investigated the car on Tuesday, February the 28th. They dragged it back down the mountain so they could investigate it further, but 9 inches of snow dropped.
How long would it have taken them to drive all the way up there?
It's about 70 miles up. Sorry, it's about 70 miles from home, so it's about 50 miles up that mountain road.
Huh.
And
so like an hour-ish.
Yeah.
Depending on...
how fast you're going.
Yeah, and like if they're being that careful, it might have taken them several. And remember, in both versions of the story, he didn't see anything until about 11:30 p.m.
Right.
So they left the baseball game at 9:45. They showed up at the shop at 10. And then something happened at 11:30. One of these two versions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm a little high right now. I'm just trying to sort it all out, guys.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I'm sober right now and I'm trying to sort it out.
Yeah.
So 2 days later, so they're still trying to send people out. They're still trying to investigate. They sent 2 people out in snowmobiles. That's about as trekky as you can get.
Right.
And they nearly got lost themselves and had to be rescued by a helicopter. So further efforts were called off due to the weather, and no trace of the men was found other than the car.
Weird.
Yeah. March 3rd, the lost posters started to go up. That's when the woman in the shop saw those posters, the missing men, and made her report.
Right.
The information for the report, now this is a contingency, maybe she was being greedy. There isn't very much about this woman, but there was a reward for $1,215 for information about the lost men, which is $4,600 in today's dollars.
It's not a small chunk of change, right?
Yeah. And although the woman and the owner of the stores, although their accounts differ, they both agree that the men showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Early March, Shones realized he was taking the same road as the car that was found. He reported to the police. The police were frustrated because he told 2 different versions, and neither of them were believable because he was delirious at the time.
Mm.
When the police took him to the doctor for them to check if he had indeed had heart trauma, when they checked his medical records and like all the stuff that happened that night, it cleared out. He indeed had a heart attack.
How pissed would you be if you were that guy? Like, here I am coming to you, police.
Yeah.
I had a heart attack. I'm sorry my story is a little disheveled.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah. I spent 12 hours having the worst pain of my life. So if you could be just like, fucked, come on now. So there's a bunch of sightings throughout April and May 1978. The boys have been seen in Ontario. way north.
Yeah.
That's quite north.
That's very north.
California.
I mean, it's east.
Yeah.
But it is north.
Yeah. The boys have been seen in Tampa.
Oh.
Yeah. The boys have been seen entering a movie theater in Sacramento, accompanied by a much older man, like in his 80s or 90s.
Weird.
Now, this tells you how desperate the police got. So you have 5 men who were likely cherished by the community because they all had big personalities, were very memorable, and were very, like, out there and involved.
Right.
And they were probably breathing down the police's neck because they couldn't find any traces of these boys. So this is how desperate they got. A psychic told the police...
of course. No.
Yeah, told the police that the boys had been kidnapped and taken to Arizona and Nevada. Another psychic told that the boys had been murdered in a town called Oroville, in a 2-storied red house with brick or stained wood, with a gravel driveway and the number 4723 or 4753 or any of those numbers combined to different orders.
Oh.
For 3
So it's any number between 1 and 10 with digits from 1 to 4-ish.
Yeah.
There's a 5.
The house was vaguely house-like.
Yeah. And this is an example of how desperate the police were. So you're fucking around with psychics. They spent 3 days with all the members of the task force driving around Oroville looking for that house.
Oh, no.
They had nothing.
Yeah, it didn't exist. Yeah, so helicopters surveyed as much
Can
as
I
they
say
can.
just how much I fucking hate psychics?
Yeah.
Like, of all the
Yeah.
idiots, the shillers, fuck, I hate psychics so much.
Yeah.
We all hate psychics, I
It's
think.
just it's taking advantage of people who are looking so much to find hope, and you're just selling hope on a platter, and it's not hope, it's a lie.
Yeah, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Go do something else or die.
Yeah. So yeah, the storms raged on. It was one of the worst winters of recent memory of that time. Of course, with global warming, it's getting worse. Anyways, helicopters surveyed from above when they could, when the storms weren't too bad. Sometimes the police officers rented some mountain horses and tried to trudge up the trail as far as they can.
Mountain horses.
But in the winter, with the permanent snow layer, it can get as deep as like 10 to 20 feet deep.
Holy smokes.
So they couldn't make it very far. Okay, this lasted until June 4th.
Wow.
June 4th, with most of the higher elevation snow melted, a group of motorcyclists went to a trailer maintained by the Forest Service at a campsite about 19 miles off the road. Now, it's about 19 miles away from where the Montenegro was found. The front window had been broken. When they opened the door, they were overcome by what turned out to be the odor of a decaying body inside.
Oh, no.
Okay. Sage, I have some bad news for you.
Oh, no. Was it me?
Wayher's body was on a bed with 8 sheets wrapped around it, including the head.
Oh.
Wow.
So all of the spare bed sheets in that cabin were wrapped around you. You were mummified, in a way. The autopsy showed that you had died of a combination of starvation and hypothermia. Now, you started out at...
Like over 200 pounds.
Yeah, at 230 pounds.
Yeah.
You now weigh 120 pounds.
Wow.
You lost more than half your body weight.
Nicely done. Way to stick with it. It's
Oh,
Weight
God.
Watchers, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
In this video, I'll explain how long you can live for without food. The term without food generally means you are allowed supplements and water, but nothing to eat, which means that the limiting factor for survival is energy. The amount of time you can survive without food can be calculated from the amount of stored energy in the body. The average well-fed adult will store about 2,000 kilocalories of glycogen in their liver and muscles. In addition to this, an average male with an average body fat will store about 81,900 kilocalories of energy in usable fat stores. Assuming that no exercise is going to be done during the starvation period, these figures suggest the average male would live for about 40 to 45 days. Actual research on this is understandably limited, but the theory is supported by some well-documented hunger strikes, where people have survived for up to 40 days without food, and probably without supplements too. It's worth noting that not all strikers survived this long though, and some only managed 28 days. Interestingly, and rather surprisingly, the maximum period of time someone has gone for without food is 382 days. This was done by a 27-year-old obese man, who only took a multivitamin and water for the entire period until his body weight normalised. So from the data available, the average person will be able to survive for about 40 days without any food or supplements. But with enough body fat and supplements, it can be done for much longer.
Yeah, so in the autopsy, they determined by the growth of your beard that you had lived as long as 13 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And you shaved every day at home. You were very particular about being smooth shaven. It was one of your daily rituals.
Okay.
Your feet were badly frostbitten to the point of being gangrenous. Your feet were falling apart from rotting.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with some of that may come blood poisoning, but of course...
And you're going to stink something fierce.
Oh, yes.
Necrosis.
Yeah. On the table next to you were some personal effects. You had a wallet with $14 cash, which is...
Like you do.
Like 40-ish bucks in today's money. A nickel ring, so a ring made out of a nickel.
Oh,
So
cool.
it kind of bent, with Ted engraved on it.
Okay.
And you also had a gold necklace with which you wore. On the table beside you also was a gold watch without its crystals. That means without the crystal that made it work, without its timing crystal.
So just like a dead watch.
A dead watch. None of the family said that watch belonged to them.
Oh.
When they talked to Forest Service people who had worked at that cabin in the past couple years, the watch didn't belong to any of them either.
Weird.
Yeah, so there was a random watch. Okay, so more about the trailer. A dozen sea ration cans from the storage shed had been opened, but a locker from the same shed that had an even greater assortment of dehydrated food, MREs, enough to keep all 5 men fed for 3 years.
Wow.
And they had not even been opened. So there was this trailer with all these containers. You know the boot boxes? Like these big rectangular metal boxes.
Okay, yeah.
Only one of them had been opened. None of these things have locks.
Yeah.
One of them was open. They opened a dozen of these sea ration cans. So these sea rations are huge tins, and when you open them up, they have a bunch of meals on the inside. Okay. So they ate 36 of these meals.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot of those meals.
Oh, yeah.
The food in there is just shit.
Oh, yeah. And here's the
Better
thing.
than starving.
Now, there's something called...
Is it better than starving?
Yeah.
Have you eaten these things?
No. Well, I've tried World War II ham in high school in Mr. Lusig's class.
I got... When a buddy comes to visit me over the winter, he's going to bring me some MREs. We're going to try them live on the show here. They're not that bad. I like them.
American MREs or Canadian?
Canadian.
Oh, see, yeah, that's totally different.
Well, okay.
American MREs, you got the little pack you squeeze and it gets all hot and you jerk it off and you get hot ham.
You know what? And these guys were in the American Army. You know what? You're right.
Yeah, the Canadian shit is terrible. It comes in this sack that you have to put in a pot of boiling water, but you then cannot drink that boiling water because it's toxic.
Yeah. So the sea rations that they opened were fruit cocktail and Mexican food.
Oh, that fruit cocktail is like a Frisbee.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Gross.
So in another shed nearby, again, wasn't locked, held a butane tank with a valve that, if it had been opened, would have fed the trailer's heating system. Now, this is a dummy-proof valve that they installed on there, and it had a sparking mechanism where as you turned the valve, it would spark and automatically light the system.
So this is the absolute dream place to be if you happen to get stuck in a blizzard and had to leave your car.
Exactly.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if they would have just turned that crank and it was on a shed that was visible and there, it would have automatically sparked and the heating system would have started up automatically. No fire had been set in the trailer's fireplace, despite an ample supply of matches.
Trailer had a fireplace.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a forest ranger trailer, so they always have a fireplace to make sure.
I'm thinking like a little tin can trailer.
Oh no, this is like a Yogi Bear trailer.
Okay.
This is like a
nice trailer.
a log cabin
Picnic
kind of thing.
baskets.
Yeah.
Literally, come on now.
Yeah. So despite having an ample supply of matches, which they had spread all over a table, they had a bunch of paperback novels. Almost all the furniture in there was wood. No attempt to make a fire was set. Now, remember, 2 of you guys were in the military. You learned how to make fires. You learned how to do this shit. A bunch of heavy forestry clothing, which would have kept the men warm, even if the heat was off, were still stored away in different rooms in the cabin. They weren't even touched. None of the doors they were behind were locked at all.
What the hell's going on?
This is getting creepy.
It really is.
And there was evidence that, you didn't die alone in the trailer. Matthias's tennis sneakers.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, your tennis sneakers were in the trailer, but they were frozen solid. You know how when you walk in the snow with like tennis shoes, they get waterlogged?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because the heat wasn't turned on, they were just solid blocks of ice.
Oh.
Yeah, so they were super wet and they'd been left behind, but they were definitely your shoes. The sea rations have been opened up with a P38 can opener. I sent you guys a video earlier today. Now, you bought one for a relative of yours. Would you like to describe it?
Yeah, I bought one for my dad from when I lived in BC. I bought one from like the Army surplus store in New Westminster. It's like a little tiny thing, and you kind of flip the blade up and kind of poke it in and slide, and then take it out and then poke it in and slide again. I got one for my dad, and that's exactly how it would have worked. Like, it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, but like it's a very small piece of equipment. Like, it's often described
teeny weeny.
Yeah, it's often described as the world's smallest can opener. And it's not very intuitive. Like, you kind of have to know it's a can opener to know it's a can opener.
Or else it's just like a flappy piece of metal with like a little curved blade on it.
Yeah. Now, this P38 can opener had another name, the John Wayne can opener. And it was given by the military because the military trained every one of their troops how to carry these. You know, you got to be light in the military. So if you have a little can opener that's the size of the end of your thumb, like that's going to be super light. You're going to be able to throw that in every meal pack out there. So the two people who were in the military were there. Madruga and Matthias were both in the army and they knew how to use it.
That's us, buddy. We were in the military.
The sheets all over Waher's body also suggested that one of them had been there with him. His feet were so rotted and so raw that doctors say with how tightly they were wrapped, there was no way he would have been able to fight through the pain to wrap those sheets on himself. Mm-hmm. It would have been just an unbelievable amount of pain. He would not have been able to do it himself, doctors say. Also, Waher wearing and the other thing that you would not have been able to walk on your feet.
Yeah.
Your feet were completely fucked. So somebody had to carry you 20 miles through 6-foot snowdrifts to reach the locked trailer.
And I'm a big boy.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why his feet were fucked, because he walked 20 miles.
That could be.
Inadequate footwear.
Yes, I was going to say, whose footwear was that? That was
left behind?
Oh, those are my shoes.
Oh, I thought it was, okay.
Yep. So, June 5th, the searchers returned to the cabin. So they found the trailer the day before, and they were all just floored. They weren't expecting to find that. Yeah. The next day, they returned, and they followed the road between the trailer and the site of the Montenegro. They found remains they later identified as Madruga and Sterling.
Oh, no.
On opposite sides of the road.
Darn. There's me.
Yeah.
I'm still alive, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's going to end well.
They were 18 kilometers from where the car had been. Madruga had been partially eaten by animals, and
oh no,
you were dragged by some medium animal, probably a coyote or a wolf or a bear. You were dragged about 10 feet to a stream. You lay face up, your right hand curled around a watch.
Oh,
now
what?
Now, there's a way to navigate using the stars and an analog watch. If you position your hour...
I was in the military.
Yes, you were in the military. You would have learned this.
Yeah.
So there's a way to point the hour hand towards the North Star and be able to tell the direction from that.
Cool.
Yes, and...
Yeah, it's pretty badass. I gotta learn how to do that.
Yeah, me too.
So your hand was gripped, had a death grip around your watch, so maybe you were doing that. Why else would you be so concerned about the time in the middle of the night? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so your body had been partially consumed by scavenging animals. Sterling was in a wooded area, scattered about over 50 feet. There was nothing left of him but bones scattered over a small area.
So he was totally eaten.
Yeah. Autopsies show that they had both died of hypothermia. Deputies speculate just by, I guess the little tattered bits of their clothing that they left behind as they traveled and stuff like that, that one may have succumbed to the desire to sleep that marks hypothermia's final stages. For those of you that don't know, when you go into the final stages of hypothermia, your brain gives you this nice little chemical rush that makes you feel like you're baking alive. And you take all your clothes off and you have a strong desire to fall asleep. And he thought that somebody succumbed to that, laid down on the ground, wanted to go to the sleep, and the other person just didn't want to abandon them. And they died right beside them, watching over their body.
Sad.
Oh, that is super sad.
They theorized that the person who was found totally to be in bones possibly may have collapsed on top of the other person in order to protect their body in the final moments.
Keep them warm.
Yeah. And the animals feasted on the person on top first.
Oh God, this is so sad.
That's really sad, yeah.
There was a bunch more searching.
Wow.
Again, the spring is coming, everything's melting, everything's rising to the surface. June 7th, Jack Hewitt's father, so my father, he found my backbone under a mazanta bush, which is a bush that has really brightly green colored leaves and really thick red bark. It's very distinctive. And it was found 2 miles northeast of the trailer. Jack's dad picked up a backbone and looked at it, and he recognized it to be his son's, and he recognized it because he found his son's shoes and little bits of his jeans nearby.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, how would you know what your son's backbone looks
Yeah.
like?
I don't know what my bone looks like.
Yeah.
Maybe I worded that a little confusingly.
Routinely x-ray myself.
Yeah. So June 8th, the deputy sheriff found a skull downhill from the bush 300 feet away. Confirmed by dental records later to have been Hewitt's skull. His death, too, was attributed to hypothermia. In the area northwest of the trailer, roughly a quarter mile from it, searchers found 3 Forest Service blankets and a rusted flashlight by the road. It could not be determined how long those items had been there. The flashlight was slightly rusted and had been turned off. It was impossible to tell just how long it had been there. They have never found any sign of Gary Mathias.
Oh.
What?
What? Did you make it out?
I don't know. That probably not, but
His tennis shoes were inside the Forest Service trailer, which suggested to the investigators that he might have made it to the trailer.
Yeah.
If your feet were damaged by hypothermia from the walk there...
why would you keep walking?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you may have taken off your shoes because your feet were too damaged and swollen, and you put on your buddy's shoes because he had a way bigger shoe size than you did.
Yeah.
So you may
shoes
have
were better.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't you stay in the shelter of the cabin?
That's the thing. Nobody knows.
With 3 years of food for 5 people, 5 men, 5 like big men.
Yeah, and remember, Gary had schizophrenia. He couldn't go 2 days without his medication before he started to have relapses of disillusion. So they started handing out flyers to all the mental institutions and hospitals all around the state and neighboring states, and they never found a trace of him. To this day, he's been missing for 40 years, 7 months, and 25 days.
Holy smokes.
Despite the area being combed over by cadaver dogs, and despite the area being combed over by chemical sensing machines that sense decaying matter in the soil, they cannot find a single trace of Gary Mathias, not a single scrap of clothing.
Well, he's got to be like around somewhere.
He's gotta be.
Did he get picked up by that truck?
Well, that's the thing. And where did the lady with the baby come from?
Yeah.
Like, these are all questions that are unanswered. Like, here's the questions that I came up with. Why did the men get lost that night and ended up the mountain?
Yeah.
So Chico to Yuba City is a straight...
Yeah, it's a straight shot, like what I saw the map.
Yeah, it's a straight through highway through Central Valley in the low-lying land with no snow at this time of year.
Why would they go up a mountain?
Yeah, and I invite you. They have this area mapped out on Google Maps. Go there yourself if you're bored or if you don't believe me. The mountain road looks very different and treacherous. It's going from a paved highway to not even a paved road, like a dirt road going up a mountain.
In the snow.
Yeah.
Well, even if someone was after you, you wouldn't pick to go up that road.
Yeah.
Pick to go towards civilization.
Unless you were slow and just like, oops, didn't know the difference between a good road and a bad road.
Yeah. And even if they took the wrong way, they continued up that road for, here I got the number now, 46 miles.
That's
a long time.
Yeah, that's too long.
Crap.
And there was lots of opportunities for them to turn around.
Yeah.
It's a vacation village where people go to ski and shit. So they have lots of little cafes and stuff they could have stopped at and turned around. Yeah. There was little bits of civilization all the way up.
Right.
What happened to the car? The group's car was left open with gas in the tank and in working order. Did they somehow lose the car and lose the keys?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, the keys to the car were found on your body.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, that's that mystery. So you had the keys on you. It's not like you lost the keys and couldn't use them. You had them.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Killed us all.
I don't know where I am.
Yeah. So the group's car was left open, and you know how protective you are about your car.
Yeah, you were like super into your car.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, with gas tank in working order. It started right away. You didn't lose the keys. It explained the strange stories told by Joseph Shones when he saw the flashlights around the car. Could they have been searching in the snow and been freaked out by his cars when they were searching for help in the isolated area?
Maybe.
Yeah, who knows? How did the group end up in a trailer around 19 miles from the car? Like, try walking 19 miles in 6 feet of snow in minus 35 Celsius temperatures.
It's hard enough to walk like from
6
your
blocks,
car. Yeah, like from your car to your house in 6 feet of snow.
And again, these guys were dressed up, prepared for light fall weather at best.
Yeah, like going from your car to the basketball place and going from your car to your house.
Yeah, Ted Weir was found in a trailer 19 miles from the car, and Madruga, Sterling, and Hewitt were found in the locality but several miles away. How did they walk in normal shoes without outdoor clothing so far in the snow with several feet thick? Were the group together and then decided to separate after Ted's death to try and find help? Did they leave together? It seems like it seems like you guys left as a group because you were found near each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, what if they were in the car trying to like figure out how to get it out, and then a guy in a truck came along and was like, "Hey, it's gonna start snowing. Like, we should get the hell out of here." And the guy in the truck just like booked it up the mountain and kicked them out.
Yeah.
And they kept Gary. The guy in the truck kept Gary, and then just abandoned everyone else.
Why'd you abandon everyone else?
But don't forget, Gary's shoes were found in the
trailer.
In the trailer,
with my dead body.
And one of you,
my huge ass dead body that was like
He might have
emaciated.
lived for quite a while too.
Yeah. And remember, Weir was who was it? You two were in the military, right?
Yeah.
So one of you two had to be there in order to open those cans.
Yeah, because it's not intuitive to use this little flippity flappity metal piece.
What if we all stopped at the trailer, and then we all got out and went into the trailer, found some food and stuff, and then like a mystery guy and Gary like went back to the truck for something to hop in the car and took off, and then like
could be. It could be, and
bailed on us.
The thing is, like, Weir didn't eat much. He did, like, he starved to death. But
why did he starve to death?
Yeah, and
surrounded by all that food.
And he can only last like max 4 or 5 days without water. So somebody had to be feeding him water, but not food. For the 13 weeks he was alive, his feet were fucked. He couldn't collect water by himself.
Yeah, someone had to be helping him with that, but not giving him food.
And he had probably, like the doctors say, he had so much blood poisoning with the amount his feet were rotting that he probably wouldn't have been coherent enough to do anything himself anyway.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
What if he didn't live for very long? What if they're wrong? Like, I know bodies can shrink, and it looks like hair grows after you're dead because your skin shrinks and things like that. What if it was just like a not really good autopsy?
That could be
even assuming that this still
it's the
doesn't make
70s,
any
right?
sense.
I'm willing to buy that theory of a shitty autopsy.
Sure.
But the thing with that is I would say that I could grow maybe a third of my beard in 13 weeks.
Right.
So picture a third of my beard. And remember that your family stated that you shaved every day.
Yeah.
Shaving was part of your daily ritual.
Yeah.
So there had to be some hair growth.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Could have been like unconscious and they tried to wrap him up to keep him warm?
Could be. It could be that he wasn't conscious and they could force liquid down his throat but not solids.
Yeah.
Perhaps they put glue on his chin and glued pubes to his face.
Get out.
That's no.
Now,
bad.
I don't know. And also what throws a wrench into the mix is they showed up at the store on Sunday.
Yeah.
And like the shop owner and the girl, now maybe they were just going for the reward money, but the police said that they trusted them.
You're not actually going to tell us which is the correct theory, are you?
I don't know. I can't figure it out. I can't. I wish I could. I wish I can't.
There's just not enough evidence.
Yeah.
Like,
and it happened in 1978, and nobody's really come all that close.
That was the year before my husband was born.
Your husband's really old.
I know. He's 39.
Jesus.
So
right?
This is the theory that I have. So I'm discounting the thing at the store the next day because that throws a wrench into my mix, but it could be real. I'm also discounting the woman with the baby and pretty much everything that the man with the heart attack saw.
You know, the woman with the baby could have been some kind of hallucination.
Yeah.
Maybe like one of the guys passed out or something and they were just carrying him, you know?
One of them had longish hair, but I don't know if it'd be long enough to be confused with like a woman's hair. And like, what could they be enough carrying that would have been like baby sized?
Maybe like bags?
Maybe.
Yeah, like grocery bags or like
like the freaking the bag for like their food and stuff.
Yeah.
Could have been like, because like it's the 70s, paper bags, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Or even like a 6-pack of beer.
Totally.
And of course, we're stuck with the unreliable narrator. So,
Yep.
so my theory starts with them at the cabin. So I think they got their car stuck. They thought they were more stuck than they were. I'm guessing that Wayher passed out at some point, was probably unconscious most of the time. They tried feeding him food, but he wouldn't swallow it. So they tried feeding him liquid, and they were able to get that down. After a long time, I don't know, but like, after a long time, you emaciated, and they went out one by one to try and get help. And maybe the last one left behind was Gary, and he was the last one to go out. And him being the highest functioning person who really just had schizophrenia, he knew that he had to do something before like he went totally mad.
Yeah.
And he collected as many blankets and supplies as he could, and maybe he made it. Maybe somebody picked him up. Maybe he's lost somewhere deep in the forest. Maybe he made it way farther than any of them, but he's just lost in an area that nobody goes.
Yeah, he also had military training too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair, yeah.
Maybe he thinks he's hiding from people or something.
But like the thing is, like you're super high functioning. Like one of them was clever enough to use a watch as a navigation thing, theoretically. But they didn't know to make a fire. They didn't know to turn the heat on. They didn't even cover up the broken window that they used to break in.
Oh.
That's assuming they all actually made it to the trailer, which we don't even know.
Yeah. We knew one of the military boys made it, and we knew that Gary made it maybe because his shoes were there, but...
Yeah.
Or maybe
someone took his shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe you just knew how to use that fancy doodad somehow.
Yeah.
We don't know that.
Yeah, maybe, if you're stuck in a cabin for months on end, maybe at one point you just figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
You're just playing around, and one end of this, you cut your finger on one end, that end's sharp, maybe I can use that to cut the can, who knows?
Yeah.
And again, like, these questions would be easier to answer if we knew their functionality. It's a shame that, mental health wasn't considered a bit earlier. Maybe this mystery could have been solved, and maybe Gary could have been given, like, a proper burial and given his surviving family a little bit of closure.
Right.
Or maybe he's still out there. I don't know.
Out there hanging out using a little tiny can opener.
Yeah.
Can opener.
I don't know. Does anybody have any final words?
That's a fucky story.
That's a super fucky story.
I'm so creeped out. Gives me shivers up my spine.
And that's what I say. Like, when I say I can't come up with a coherent theory, because, like, even my theory doesn't make sense. Like, if they survived long enough, like, why didn't they put on, like, the bunch of snowsuits that were readily available?
Listen,
in
I'm
the
just
rooms?
annoyingly curious because it's going to just kind of stop me from sleeping a bit.
Yeah. I'm going to think about it tonight, too.
What the hell happened?
Like,
it's going to be better than my anxiety.
Why were they even on that road? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They had to have been pursued. That's all They must have chosen that road and they were pursued.
I 100% think that it was the thing I said before about the mystery guy with the truck, because maybe like the guy with the heart attack, like he kind of smooshed two stories together and it got a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I think they flagged a dude down, got in his truck and left and abandoned their car because it's snowing.
What about this guy with the heart attack?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird story in general.
Yeah.
Maybe it's made up.
Maybe he's involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And of course, like, they did determine that he had a heart attack, but of course, like, isn't it hard to determine that just by...
No, it's pretty easy.
It is his blood work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess certain, like, stress hormones are released and all that, or what?
Basically, yeah. Or they can image your heart and see damage to it. But
Okay.
But also, why would you be chasing like a car full of 5 maybe mentally not quite as competent dudes? Like, what would you expect to get from that?
Yeah. And
maybe to find, I don't know.
And who knows? Like, if
they didn't have money, they were wearing a bunch of T-shirts and they were there.
$14.
Yeah.
If the boys were coerced, maybe the same force or person or threats like coerced the man in the car to shut up and stay quiet.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's why his story changed too. Maybe in one version he told a little bit different because he was trying to come up with a lie when he didn't want to reveal the truth.
He was like a Kaiser Soze thing where he was just telling stuff that he saw on the police wall.
Yeah,
it could have been
a woman with a baby.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
There's definitely the potential for a lot of it to have been made up.
Yeah. And like, especially like the next day, like on the Sunday, like they don't come home. They're gone all Saturday. And on Sunday, they arrive at some place to buy snacks and they're just all cool about it. And they're using the payphone or whatever the fuck. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. That seems made up, but I mean, the only thing that really corroborates that is the one guy saying, yeah, oh yeah, my brother likes to snack. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty thin.
Who doesn't like to snack?
Everyone likes to snack.
And the chocolate milk was purchased.
Yeah.
In both locations.
Yeah. Okay. I have, I don't know. Listeners, might be one you have to write in on. Send a voicemail.
Add us.
Yeah. Add us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Add us don't add me on Instagram. I'm too old for Instagram, I've decided. Yeah.
Yeah. Add us on Twitter.
Yeah.
I've just started Twitter and I'm starting to get okay at it. Although apparently my DMs were set to private. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna still keep on
fix it though.
I'm gonna keep on putting cool shit up on Instagram, but if you really want to get a hold of somebody, hit us up on Twitter.
Yeah.
At Occultae.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so if you have a theory, ovfeedback@gmail.com, but otherwise, I've been Ood Gallifrey.
Sage Murray.
Leon Pilger.
And in studio with us.
And Daniel Gallifrey.
Susan O'Flanagan.
Okay, and we'll see you guys next time.
Love you, bye.
Bye now.
Hello, boys, girls, and non-binary citizens of Earth. For our palate cleanser today, I put out a shout-out on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook for anybody in our audience who's a musical artist or knows a musical artist to submit some tracks. And this is the first one of those. So, this is Subservient by the artist Luciferin. If you would like to hear your music or somebody you know's music on our palate cleanser, just send a high-quality MP3 or WAV file to ovfeedback@gmail.com. We'd be happy to play your music. Otherwise, enjoy this track from Luciferin.
So many things I can do, but after a while you'll be gone.
Alrighty, hello once again. Back with the after show. Now with all three of the people again. It's not just Ood by himself.
Hi, hello.
Yeah. The reason that we did it by ourselves for a while is we had a hell of a Christmas and January season. You know, there was seasonal effectiveness or seasonal depression, and there was just stress and anxiety.
I fucking owned my way through the seasonal depression season, and it just finally took me down like 2.5 weeks ago. I was so looking forward to making it through, and then no.
Sometimes all that effort, you don't know you're nearing the end of your tank until it hits you. You know.
Well, it was baby Leon Filger showed up in September, and that's like usually beginning of November is when I'd fall into the slump. But I was so excited to have this baby that I think it kept me afloat.
Yeah,
and I just couldn't sustain it anymore, and finally the pressure of school and life and everything, and then boom. I haven't been suicidal, but I'm feeling pretty fucking shitty for a couple of weeks now.
Well, we're super happy that you came to podcast today.
Yeah, it was tough getting out of bed. It's always tough getting out of bed.
Yeah.
Showering. I showered today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Whenever we share a space, Leon, it's a light in my life.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have an email from Gentry in Salt Lake City, Utah. Who would like to read it?
You can.
Okay.
It's about you.
Sure. Hey, I wanted to express my gratitude to the OV hosts, especially Ood, for your handling of the criticism one listener sent you in response to the bi thing mentioned in the Nazi episode. I am really appreciative of you not only using it as a learning experience for yourself, but reading and responding to email on the air. Yeah, I guess to anybody out there that's listened to Ood's story, episode 50 or 51 or something like that, like I've been wrong so many times in my life that I have to kind of like always check myself because I don't want to be wrong again. I'm a bi woman, and I didn't formally come out until about 2 years ago. I'm 30 now.
Welcome.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome.
Although I've known since I was probably 12 or 13 that I liked women as well as men, bi people so often get kind of left out of the conversation. As well, we tend to be viewed as these weird middle grounders by a lot of people.
Oh my God, right? Because we're too straight to be gay and too gay to be straight.
Yeah.
And
or I'm in a really straight presenting role. Like I'm married to a man and have a kid. You're married almost to a woman with a kid.
Yeah.
Like we're both in really straight presenting relationships, and we're both very straight.
How could you possibly be bi?
How could you be bi? You're with a man.
Yeah.
You have a baby.
And that definitely exists. Like as I've been getting call back to the BDSM episode, as I've been entering that community more and more, I've been meeting more LGBT people.
Yeah.
And they have their own collection of biases sometimes where they think that dating a bi person isn't as good as dating like
a full lesbian or something.
Yeah, they see it as a downgrade. That sometimes that's the attitude out there. So it's tough sometimes.
And I'm not comfortable going to a gay club.
Yeah.
Because I feel either that I'm not gay enough there or my gay side comes out completely, and then it sort of becomes damaging to my straightness.
I still feel weird telling people, especially potential romantic partners, about my sexuality because I feel like it gets kind of viewed as not real or valid.
Totally real or valid.
Totally real and valid.
We love you.
Or in the worst situations, as a little more than a bullshit fantasy for men who fetishize lesbians. Yeah, I get that. It's a tough subject, so I just wanted to thank you for acknowledging what could be done better in regards to discussing bisexuality, for simply being willing to talk about it, instead of pretending we don't exist. Love the podcast, and that's Gentry from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Well, we love you, and welcome to the bi side.
Yeah.
And we have an episode planned for, we have so many episodes planned, so sometime in the future we have an episode planned about, sexuality and gender expression, and we're going to bring some people who actually know what they're talking about to talk about that.
Cool.
Yeah. So for Occultae Veritatis, I've been Ood Gallifrey.
Sage Murray.
Leon Filger.
Bye-bye.
Love you, bye.